Hello.
Hello.
Okay. What did you feel about this year's higher calling conference?
Um, what did I feel about the series conference? Well, this year, I've been coming for 3 years, and I think what was unique about this year is I felt a real strong openness for each of the participants. I sensed that they were hungry to encounter Jesus, and I felt they were actually ready. So I could see that there was like a level of growth from the years before, and so I was really excited about that.
Okay. What motivated you to come to speak to young generations or college students?
Well, I believe this is one of the greatest moments in human history, that there's a realistic transfer of human wealth right now, like ever before. The baby boomers are dying, and some of the greatest resources are now being transitioned to the next generation. So I don't believe that's just financial capital. I believe that's also human capital and knowledge capital. And so what inspired me is to encourage this next generation that they've been given like a double portion, and that they're going to be the generation that's going to be able to stand on the shoulders of like the Moses who helped break the way, and they're going to be able to actually conquer the land. Not in a sense like a Western conquistador, but more in the sense of humble lovers. That the way our weapon of mass construction is love. And that's how we're supposed to roll, not with this arrogant attitude. So I feel like that there's this transfer that I want to bless, and I want to encourage here with the participants at the higher conference.
This year's Higher Calling 2's theme is the truth. In your definitions, what is the truth?
Truth is Jesus to me, and truth is reality. I think it's the opposite of illusions. Truth is brokenness and beauty intermixed. Truth is clothed and imbued with love. Truth is action, not just theory.
We learned that one of your emphases is diversity. How do you think this concept is significant to the younger generation?
Well, I think it's part of who God is diversity. You look at from the Trinity itself, there's diversity with God the Father, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus. So even within the character of the Godhead is diversity. And then also, when you look at the two major commandments that God gave to us, when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest? He said there's two. You love God with all your heart, soul, mind, then love your neighbor. And the neighbor is actually, when someone asked Jesus who the neighbor is, he told the Good Samaritan story. And it's very Asian. I tell people in Bruce Lee, it was cryptic. Usually Americans are very straightforward to tell you the answer. Jesus actually told a story. And in the story, the clarity of who the neighbor is really evident. It's the one who's not like you, someone who's different than you. So to me, it's like there's a symbiotic relationship between loving God and loving someone different than you. So the more you can love someone different than you, the more actually I think you're loving God. And the more you love God, the more you're going to love someone different than you. There's a relationship in that. That's why God says, if you love the least of these, you've done it unto me.
You mentioned during your sermon that love is choice. Could you elaborate it?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people describe love as a feeling. And feeling is like the caboose of a train. It comes after the choice. The engine is a choice, it's an action. You do what's right, and then you find the feeling that comes and flows with it. But because we're all about like what's considered romantic love, we think that there's always this feeling I have to have. So when people feel I've lost the feeling, that means I don't love them anymore. I said, no, that's so shallow. Real love is not like, because you're not going to like sometimes people, but you're called to choose to love someone. And in that choice is this faithful commitment. And so to me, that's real love, is when there's a faithful covenantal commitment to somebody that no matter what you do, I may not like you, but I'm committed to your well-being, and I'll be your strongest fan and supporter. And I feel love is that. And so when you look at like 1 Corinthians 13, people read it in weddings like it's this poetry, but actually it's ugly. It's like love is really hard. It's difficult. It's long suffering. So the more you read 1 Corinthians 13, it was really showing you how hard love is. So it wasn't meant just to be some poetic thing in a wedding ceremony. It was to show you the depth of love and how hard and difficult it is. But through Jesus, you know, you can be empowered to do that.
Is there a message you would like to say to the young generation?
You know, it's kind of like I think what I say with my kids. Don't fear man. Don't let fear paralyze you, because you'll have tons of fears about your future, about direction, strategy. In fact, the greatest things in life produce fear. But step through the fear into believing the promises of God's presence. And what happens is you'll fall so madly in love with God, and as you experience that, it's going to set you free. And so I'd say, you know, just be free to love and be who God's called you to be, and not to take on the expectations of everybody, but just to be in relationship with the Holy Spirit, and He'll guide you. So I tell young people, don't focus on like the map, like the strategy of what you're supposed to do in the future. Focus on the relationship with God, because as you get to know God, you get to know what He wants you to do. So first get to know God, and then you'll see the steps become easy or easier to understand, because you're following the guide versus the map.
That's it.
That'll be all.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're the generation, I believe, that God's raising up in all the nations. And He's called you to have no fear, to really believe in the presence and the power of the Holy Spirit in you. Some of you may be called to die and to suffer for His name's sake. It's not very glamorous, and it's going to be very hard as you see your friends and as you'll experience potentially great suffering and pain. But He's promised that He'll be with you. And just like Stephen, there was a light on him. He saw the glories of heaven. And so the road to resurrection always is via dolorosa. It's a willingness to embrace the suffering that God may call you into, to step into discomfort. So don't be afraid of that, because He'll promise you something. He'll give you joy. And it may not be like all understandable around you. It may be very chaotic, but He promised you He'll give you joy. And so that's what I'm praying actually for myself this next year, is that I won't just do like the regiments of religion or having to go to church and do all the things that Christians are supposed to do, that I won't bear that burden, but that actually I'll live every day awakened by the power of the Holy Spirit, and also being more alive every day and filled with His joy. So I pray that God would give me His joy, but I also pray that for you, that you'll experience His joy that's unbelievable, and that every day you wake up, that you'll sense that power and freedom in your life. May God bless you guys.